This call is being recorded.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome, brothers and sisters, to the Nation of Islam, Allah's simple number one, and the War of Christ. I am opening this meeting in the name of Allah, who appeared and is in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum. And with the Farad prayer. Surely I have turned myself, being a bride to him who originated the heavens and the earth, and I am not of the polytheists. Surely my prayers, my sacrifices, my life, and my death are all for Allah, the Lord of the worlds. No associate has he, and this am I commanded, and I am of those who submit. O Allah, thou art the King, there is no God but thee. Thou art my Lord, and I am thy servant. I have been unjust to myself, and I confess my faults. So grant me protection against all my faults, for none grants protection against faults but thee. And guide me to the best of morals, for none guides to the best of them but thee, and turns away from me the evil morals but thee. Amen. Today we are continuing with our reading of Message to the Black Man in America by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and the order will go as follows. Daim will read What is Un-American from pages 177 to page 182. I will read What is Un-American from page 182 to 186. Kamal will read Misunderstanding and Misinterpretation on page 186. Amaria will read To Help Fight Against Poverty and Want on page 192. And Sister Rebecca will read A Sound Economic Plan 1 on page 194. And we will start with Daim reading What is Un-American starting on page 187.
This is Minister Daim of the Nation of Islam, Allah's simple number one. What is un-American? My followers and I are being accused of being un-American. We actually do not know what is American and what is un-American, as the United States of America has not instructed us as to what constitutes an American or an un-American. Recently, the California State Senate Fact-Finding Subcommittee on Un-American Activities in their 11th report to the 1961 regular California legislature in Sacramento, California, on pages 131 through 138 under the heading, The Negro Muslims are charging us with being un-American, that we now operate a school for the indoctrination of young Negroes with race hatred. This is untrue, for we only teach them who you really are. They can hate or love you. It is up to them. You have always had private schools. First, your students not only learn to hate Negroes, but are the number one murderers of Negroes. Second, we do not teach them to disregard their family names. They do not know them. We teach them to discard your family names and get their real name, their real nation's name, for your names are not our legal names. On page 136, we are classified along with the Communist Party. For 34 years, we have not been anything other than a peaceful people who have never carried weapons, nor have we made any aggressive moves or attacks on anyone. The Negro Muslims, of course, Muslims or Muslims means the same thing. As Muhammad and Muhammad, only one is common in English, Muslim and Muhammad. In Arabic, Muslim and Muhammad are scholarly. So the so-called fact-finding committee, we are not surprised to hear, read false statements against us, the Muslims, by the American white people. This is only their nature. They were not created to tell, teach, preach, or represent the truth when it comes to the Negroes, God and the righteous. Usually I do not waste my time on the untrue things that I hear or read about me and my followers stated by our open enemies, the white people, and those of my people whom they have poisoned against self and their kind, the black race. It is written in the scriptures of truth that the devils would put out such evil and false accusations against the messenger of Allah and his followers in these last days of their evil, bloody world. I think Allah God will not allow falsehood to triumph over truth in his days. This so-called fact-finding committee on page 131 says that my father took me to Detroit, where I attended the public schools until reaching the 3rd grade, at which point I left home at the age of 16 and wandered from city to city, serving various jail terms for vagrancy and other minor offenses, except for a term of 4 years in the federal penitentiary. The truth is, I was born in Georgia, went to the public school in Georgia, and was never out of the state of Georgia until I was 25 years of age. I married and had 2 children and moved to Detroit in April 1923 from Macon, Georgia, where I worked for the Southern Railroad Company and the Cherokee Brick Company, the latter as a tramroad foreman and builder. I never was arrested and served no jail terms on any charge or charges until 1934. I committed myself to the jail in Detroit after learning that the Michigan State Board of Education had arrested the Muslim teachers of the School of Islam and the secretary of the temple on false charges of contributing to the delinquency of minors. This false charge was dropped, and the teachers were freed. I was at the time given 6 months probation to put our Muslim children back in the public schools under Christian teachers. This I did not do, and I moved in September of that same year to Chicago. The next time I was arrested was May 8, 1942, in Washington, D.C. by the FBI for not registering for the draft. When the call was made for all males between 18 and 44, I refused, not evading, on the grounds that first, I was a Muslim and would not take part in war, and especially not on the side with the infidels. Second, I was 45 years of age and was not, according to the law, required to register. The above can be verified from the court records in Detroit and Washington, D.C. The name Poole was never my name, nor was it my father's name. It was the name the white slave master of my grandfather after the so-called freedom of my fathers. They, being robbed of the knowledge of self and kind for the past 300 years, did not know what deadly harm the slave master's name would do to them in the way of true freedom and recognition among the free and independent nations of our own, and the spiritual non-acceptance by Allah God on the day of resurrection from the devil's names. They allowed themselves to continue to be called by the devil's slave master's name. But on the coming and appearance of Allah in 1930, who taught me a thorough knowledge of the devils, the time, the resurrection and end, and the judgment of the devils and their followers, and the danger of being called by devil names and believing what they teach as religion, He, Allah, gave me His name. Later, my father and all our family accepted His name, Muhammad. Other believers in Detroit and Chicago accepted many other of His names, all called attributes, and His true religion and only religion of God, Islam. The religion Islam is universally recognized as the true religion of God, even by many of the disbelievers and infidels and Hindus. Over 3 million white Americans recognize it in secret. We want to know just what is characterized as un-American, what is characterized as true American. Is being Muslims and righteously trying to obey and observe all the divine laws of God that even you, the Christian preach but do not obey, and trying to obey your civil laws, what you call un-American? You and the world know that we seek to do no evil to anyone. We carry no weapons of evil. We are trying to be respected, and we respect you as the rulers of the land. You printed my 12-point program for my people on pages 132 and 133. Is there anything wrong with any of the words mentioned in it for my people? They are, number one, separate ourselves from the slave master. You had us segregated for 400 years and now say that we are free. Is it being un-American to leave you or separate from you? a people who have enslaved and destroyed us as human beings? Have not you separated yourselves from us? Is pooling our resources, education, and qualifications for self-independence as you and other nations have done, and since you say we are free, what do you call un-American? Should we not stop forcing our presence on you in places of yours where you forbid us and tell us we are not wanted? Is this what you call un-American, keeping away from that of yours that you forbade us? Making our own neighborhoods a decent place to live and seeking a place in your neighborhood just because yours looks better and cleaner, making wherever we live a nice and clean place to live and making a decent life among ourselves. If you and yours can do it, so can we. Is this what you call un-American? If we want to rid ourselves of the lust of wine and other intoxicating drinks and learn to love ourselves before loving you or others, is that what you call un-American? Uniting and creating for ourselves. Have you given us anything in the way of your past and present treatment of us that we can believe that it will not be hell on hell? Is it un-American for us to build our own homes and schools, hospitals, and factories while we are suffering and being turned away from many of yours? Is it un-American for us to want to keep our blood pure from being mixed with yours, our enemies? Is it un-American for us to stop wasting our money and trying to buy your finest cars, clothing, shoes before being able to live in a nice home? Is it un-American for us to spend our money among ourselves, what little we have to spend? Is it un-American for us to build up an economic system among ourselves? Is it un-American for us to protect our women as you and other nations protect women? Is it un-American for us to try to set up a clean, respectful society among ourselves as other nations? And should we not, as well as you, set officers over our society who will see to it that the rules and laws are obeyed? You know it is absolutely false to accuse us of violence or preparing for violence. Allah God forbids us to do such a thing. He is the one who will do our fighting for us against you, as Jehovah did for Moses and Israel. Only Allah is a little more angry with you for the evils done to us than Jehovah was with Pharaoh. As Jehovah only wanted to set a sign for you of what you may expect today, and Israel was not the real people of Allah. Your evil and false accusations of me and my followers are only to frighten already frightened so-called Negroes from coming to Allah, that they may inherit the earth. You frighten especially the proud so-called Negroes whom you have made like yourself, thinking that they might be of some help to us. But Allah is sufficient as a helper. You will not be able to help yourself pretty soon, let alone make poison-proud Negroes to help you against us. We want to be ourselves, and we are going to have some of this earth that we can call our own, with the help of Allah, as He has promised us through the mouth of His prophets, from Moses to Muhammad. It is up to you to mistreat us or treat us well. Do as you like. We will not follow you anymore. The United States calls all so-called Negroes who want to live as decent, civilized men or women un-American. We want to live in peace. We are they who want to be treated like human beings. We are they who want freedom, justice, and equality. We are they who want a moral reformation of our people as well as the spiritual reformation. We are they who love unity among the so-called Negroes. We are they who want to do for ourselves. We are they who want a home on this earth that we can call our own. We are they who want deliverance from the midst of our 400-year enemies who keep us subjected to the status of servants and subjected to every brutality and murder known to civilized men. We are they who seek to rid ourselves of such an inhuman race of devils and live to ourselves in peace from the fear of such human beasts attacking and killing us night and day. And they call us un-American. The entire federal government is against freedom, justice, and equality, and total separation of the so-called Negroes in a state or states to ourselves. We want not only physical and moral freedom, but even spiritual freedom. If it is the true religion of God called Islam, the federal government's agents follow us everywhere we go. They question the new converts, seeking to pull them away by fear. They threaten them with the loss of jobs and persecution if there be the slightest grounds for it. They call the truth and salvation of Allah that He has brought to us false and troublemaking. They call in both men and women who believe for questioning just for the sole purpose of trying to frighten them away. They are trying to frighten them from that which they know is their so-called Negro salvation and universal recognition, friendship in all walks of life, money and good homes. The United States does not like to see us enjoying these things. The only way is for us to accept Allah and His religion, Islam, and unite and leave such a devil race of people. Remember, Allah is with us to the end. He will give us this whole earth to rule forever. Accept and do my 12-point program. The white race is destroying itself and wishes to take you and I into its own destruction. Beware of their tricks, as they are now playing them on you 100%. Amen.
This is Minister Rafiq of the Nation of Islam, Allah's Temple Number 1. According to the dictionary's definition of un-American, it means one that is not American, not characteristic of or proper to America, foreign or opposed to the American character, usages, standards, etc. As you know, any or all Negroes who seek freedom, justice, and equality are charged or accused of being un-American. They are accused of seeking to overthrow the government of America by force. We, Muslims, prohibit the carrying of arms, but yet are accused of planning to overthrow the government by force. No Negro leader has been successful in helping his people to freedom, justice, and equality who was not opposed by both his own people and the merciless, wicked white Americans, and also by those poisoned, intellectual so-called Negroes who love and worship the devils and hate self and kind. Today, the Americans hope to unite all educated so-called Negroes along with their already poisoned Negro Christian preachers against us, the Muslims, who preach freedom, justice, and equality for the black nation. They are united against my followers and I. Thanks be to Allah, you are a little too late to win. Allah knew the tricks you would use to try to deceive the black man before you were created. Un-American. I wish to prove, according to the English language, that every so-called Negro, Indian, and all non-white Europeans are un-American according to the dictionary's definition of an American. An American, according to the dictionary, is a citizen of the United States or of the earlier British colonies, one not belonging to one of the aboriginal races. We belong to the aboriginal nation of the earth. The white or European race is not aboriginal. Native or inhabitants of the Western Hemisphere. The above explanation makes it clear that we are not members of the white Europeans or descendants of that race. We are the aboriginal un-Americans. The above explanation also makes it clear that we, the so-called Negroes, are not and cannot be American citizens, since we are not American by nature or race. A true American is one other than the aboriginal race or races that inhabited the Western Hemisphere or the whole planet Earth before the coming of the white man from Europe. We, the so-called Negroes, members of the aboriginal black nation of the earth and of the tribe of Shabazz, were kidnapped from our native land and people by the white Englishmen and Americans. We were brought here not to be made Americans or American citizens, but rather to be slaves or servants for the true American citizens, whites, who originally came from Europe. We, descendants of the Asiatic nation from the continent of Africa after 100 years of so-called freedom, cannot claim by the law of justice to be Americans or American citizens, nor can we expect anything like equal justice under the law of true American courts. The government, with its great standing armies, cannot even force equal justice for the so-called Negroes. Why? Because we are not real American citizens. We are un-American, and by nature we are different. Know from this day on that if you are the aboriginal black nation, that if you are of the aboriginal black nation, you are an un-American. Even though you may have been born in the United States of America, you cannot be an American. Used for criminal purposes. What or why are we called un-American? It is to classify us as criminals or with crimes that we are not guilty of. They make the truth God has given to us an untruth. They use it to conceal our true intentions. But at the same time, they claim freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and religious freedom, lawful under the Constitution. Again, it is abundantly clear to you that have eyes that America never intended freedom for her so-called Negroes. She stands in the way and opposes true freedom, justice, and equality from coming to the poor black man and woman in the Western Hemisphere. She is pleased with the foolish and ignorant worship of the so-called Negroes. She does not ever want the Negroes to accept the true religion, which is Islam. Why? Here in Islam, the Negroes have a true God and true friends on their side, and that means help to the poor Negroes against their open enemies, the white race. So you can, or you will, see why they do not want a so-called Negro Muslim people in America. It means independence, friendship, divine guidance, and help against the devils. As it is written in the Holy Quran, know that Allah is with Muslims. Trick the Negroes to stay in devils' names. For the first time, the so-called Negroes are awakening to just why white Americans still like to call their much hated and despised ones Negro slaves after their names, or make the Negroes think that names do not mean anything, or that they should remain in them. The devils have knowledge of the time. They know you will not be accepted by God or your own nation if represented under their names, which are not names of God, and will not see the hereafter. The intellectual so-called Negroes think that it is a disgrace to them to not be called by the slave master's names. Even a doctor once tried to make me change my name and be called by the slave master's name, and said that if I wanted to be called Muhammad, I should go to the court and have my name changed legally. I laughed and said that I was sorry, but I had my legal name, and there is no law that can make me pay to be called by that name. I have been called by an illegal name. Now I have gotten rid of that illegal name, that illegal slave name, and for a legal name and a holy name of God. Again, we must remember that the white race never intended anything like good for you. They are not seeking good for you today. Death is really their aim for you. Why do they oppose our struggle for justice and freedom if they want to see all of our people free and enjoying justice and equality? They are not referring to you. You are not people in their eye. It is their people they are referring to. Why do they oppose segregation of us into a state or territory of our own, since we cannot live in peace with them? When we read of the evils done to us and to our fathers by this race of devils, we cannot foresee anything in them but evil, hatred, and murder for us and our unborn children. Read some of their books as to what was done against our slave parents by the fathers of these modern murderers of ours. For instance, the book entitled Brown Americans by Edwin R. Embry, printed in 1946, page 54, tells the story of law against education for the so-called Negroes. He quotes a devil, Henry Berry, as saying while speaking in the Virginia House of Delegates in 1832, describing the situation as existed at the time in many parts of the South. We have, as far as possible, closed every avenue by which light may enter the slave's mind. The avenue of light of Allah that you are unable to shut out from coming to us. If we could extinguish the capacity to see the light, our work would be complete. They would then be on a level with the beasts of the field, and we should be safe. I am not certain that we would not do it if we could find out the process, and that on the plea of necessity. The above words, desires, and works against you are still in the hearts of their evil, bloodthirsty children against you. Today they go around in large cities like like Chicago, at night, in cars loaded with baseball bats, guns, iron pipes, and knives to pounce upon and kill poor, harmless so-called Negroes. We are living under the very shadow of death in such a place as America. Unity under the guidance and protection of Allah will bring an end to this horrible situation. What do you see as a future in them for you and your children? Nothing but hell. Remember, if you are black or a member of the black nation, you are un-American. If you want equal justice and a decent way to live life, if you want equal justice and a decent way of life to live, or have love for the black people, you are un-American. The American is the only one that can sing the land of freedom. It is for white Americans. Amen.
This is Mr. Kamal Muhammad of the Nation of Islam, Alliance Triple Number 1. Misunderstanding and misinterpretation. In the name of Almighty Allah, the most merciful Savior, our Deliverer, Master of the Day of Judgment, to Allah alone do I submit and seek refuge. My dear original black people of North America and the world, there is much talk, both good and bad, going these days about the ending of the world that we now live in, the world of the white man. The people of the white race are losing their divine power to rule the world of the original man. It is very easy for us to see and understand that throughout the world there is unrest among the original black people who are working at a boiling pitch trying to get to themselves and for themselves as never before, not even since the white race has been placed on the planet, even more so than in the time of Muhammad of 1,400 years ago. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. From the 7th century to the 11th century, we had a much smaller world than we have today. Islam did not conquer the whole world, only Africa, the Near East, and part of Europe as far as Vienna. She did not conquer Italy, China, Japan, and the islands, but today Islam for the first time has nearly completed her march throughout the world. She has not converted Europe or Christian Americans and never will. But as far as the original black people in America, the Pacific Islands, the southern realm of America, Argentina, and South America, you will find a small population of Islam. America is the last place that Islam was to reach. Not by the missionaries of Asia and Africa, but America was left for the divine supreme being who was referred to by the name of Allah. In this country, Allah desired to make himself known as he did, for example, in Egypt, only this time it is universal. Coming first to the lost and found members of the black nations of America, that prophecy of the Bible from Moses to Jesus must be fulfilled. There is much taught against the divine work that is going on here in America by Orthodox Muslims and black Christians of America. Many of the Orthodox Muslims do not want to believe that Allah has appeared in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, or that he has made manifest the truth that has been hidden from their religious scientists, the truth of God and of the devil, as revealed to me. Though they do have the Holy Quran, many of them do not understand the meaning of it, and some of them believe everything that is prophesied in the Bible of the Holy Quran about a last messenger or prophet being or referred to Muhammad of 1400 years ago. They even take all of the people prophesied from Moses to Jesus, who received a prophet coming after Moses and like Moses to the people of Muhammad of 1,400 years ago. This is very wrong. It must be understood that the prophets are referring to God and a messenger in the resurrection of the dead in the last years of this world ruled by the Caucasian people. Moses and Jesus were both examples of what was to come at the end of this world, not the end of Moses' and Jesus' world. Moses' and Jesus' lives were examples of what would take place among the so-called Negroes in America, that lost and found people mentioned so much by Jesus in Revelations, where it is shown that the messenger becomes a lamb. In Revelations, the symbolic lamb is in the midst of four symbolic beasts. All of the scholars and scientists of the white race known white race. No, this is not referring to Muhammad of 1400 years ago. The anger of the beast refers to a dragon against the messenger, who was referred to as a lamb or as a woman pregnant with child. This is one of the clearest prophecies of the opposition against him in the last day, and the type of people to whom the Revelator refused to give credit for being not human beings, but beasts who desired to destroy the woman and her child. This only means the messenger and the followers of Islam. All messengers were attacked by disbelievers and governments of their time, according to the Quran. As an example of when the last messenger and his followers with faith, Pharaoh openly confessed that he desired to slay Moses and did not believe that God Allah would be able to protect Moses from his evil plans. But the Holy Quran says that Allah made him an example, for in the last days both Moses and the symbolic lamb are declared to be victorious. Revelation states that the Lamb and his followers, after escaping the evil plans of the beast, sang the song of Moses, which was of the victory over Pharaoh. Let us remember that the scholars and scientists have not understood the true interpretations of the Bible and the Holy Quran, and concerning the last messenger. They should meet and confer on this most important of all scriptures and come to the correct interpretation. Both of you, Christians and Orthodox Muslims, are absolutely wrong to believe all of this prophecy refers to Jesus or Moses and a prophet like himself, and to believe that the symbolic lamb in Revelation refers to Jesus, or as the Orthodox Muslims believe that it refers to Muhammad of 1400 years ago. How gravely you must interpret your Bible and Holy Quran. This important understanding is causing a lot of divisions. Some of the well-read scholars among the Orthodox Muslims are grieved to hear from America that I call myself a messenger of Allah, though not one of them has been able to do the work that I have done in resurrecting my people in America. They cannot do it. It was not for them to do what I am doing, the resurrecting of the dead. Their own Holy Quran teaches them that Allah teaches a messenger from every people that he intends to warn or destroy. It tells them in plain words that an Arab or an Arabic Holy Quran cannot be the instrument sent to the people who must be resurrected, because they would have the excuse that they cannot read Arabic and therefore exercise their disbelief by saying that this was an Arab or an Arabic Quran. The Quran teaches that they must have the Quran in their own language, and they must not have a foreigner, but someone from among themselves who could speak their language. He cannot be one who could speak Arabic until Allah taught him Arabic. Therefore, the messenger is not an Arab or an Arabic speaker in the resurrection of the dead. Not the people who must be resurrected according to the Quran, but later Allah taught him in Arabic, and then he said in his Quran that now I give to thee a Holy Quran in the language of the people, whom he is among who do not speak Arabic, and now I give thee an Arabic Holy Quran, that I may warn the mother city. This means that he received two books, one in foreign language of two Arabs, and another in the original language, both called Holy Quran. There must be something that is wrong about the mother city, which all the scholars agree is Mecca. Those are the last days, not in the days of Moses, only his works of correcting the ills of Arabs in Mecca, where he was born. This was an example of what was to come or will come. He, not Jesus, referred to the old truth, which was given to either one, though the Holy Quran is without a doubt a true book. But it only takes us up to the resurrection of the dead, not beyond. It does not give you a real knowledge of Allah and the devil, because it refers to the coming of Allah as the Bible refers to the coming of Allah. The Holy Quran refers to the day of Allah, meaning years of the resurrection, and it often repeats that the people will meet with Allah in person, not in visions. He will return to them or give them knowledge of that which they have done, good or evil. He will not allow the good ones to enter into everlasting goodness without knowing of their good. It says that on that day, Allah will give every man a book so that he can read his own account in the resurrection of the dead, especially the so-called Negroes, American Negroes. They will receive these accounts literally because they are a people who must be separated, and these books will verify their actual works. Of course, they have a knowledge of the chastisement of the wicked and disbelievers' rejections of the truth, and the righteous will have a knowledge of their right by being separated by Allah from the evildoers and the hypocrites. The jealousy of the last messenger is written of and mentioned throughout the Quran and the Bible. All prophets had people among them who were hypocrites, who were jealous of them and wanted their place. But they were not fit or chosen by Allah for that high place, as they probably could not go through the punishment or persecution of the wicked. There are religious scientists in Islam who know these things to be true that I am saying, and there are those who do not understand their holy Quran and the prophecy of Muhammad being last among the dead. For the Bible teaches that God will use him to make himself known in the last days. The people will probably fall for everything evil. I will not acknowledge the hypocrites' charges against me by going and contending with them before my enemies. I am not sent to accuse my people. I am sent to clear them of the charges of the accusers, the devils. This is the divine problem. God himself will liberate the Negro. Africa is trying to liberate herself from the same enemy. These prophecies concerning the resurrection of and freedom of the so-called American Negroes cannot be cast aside as false, especially today, for you can see the fulfillment. The so-called Negro must be delivered by God and God only. He will use a messenger who is symbolically referred to as the Lamb of God in the resurrection to spiritually liberate the American Negro. They must be taught They must be taught a thorough knowledge of their people and the devil. They must be Muslims to be liberated. They must have the name of God, which means one of the 99 names that comprise the name of God. Names are now being given. The foolish hypocrites do not know the scriptures or prophecies, but they desire recognition by the people as great leaders without any followers. There are many Africans and Egyptians who are now giving me credit for what I have said. They are actually surprised when they come into the knowledge of Allah's work in America and me, his chosen messenger, sent to my people here in America. I will accomplish the mission Allah has given to me to raise my people here in America, both spiritually and physically, above the nations of the earth, if it pleases him. Amen.
This is Minister Amari Muhammad of the Nation of Islam, Allah Subhanahu the economic program to help fight against poverty and want. I appeal to all Muslims and to all the members of the original Black nation in America to sacrifice at least 5 cents from each day's payment to create an economic savings program to help fight unemployment, abominable housing, hunger, and nakedness of the 22 million Black people here in America who continue to face these problems. This will not interfere with the government's program for better housing conditions at all. It will only aid those who have never known anything in the way of help, and those who do not even know that there is a government housing act to help dependent people. There are thousands of our people living in worse conditions than dogs and pigs. At least dogs are not bothered with too many rats and roaches in their houses because they kill them to keep out the uncleanliness and filth, which dominate and create bad housing conditions. We hope to create a committee to teach and force our people to be clean, the Committee of Cleanliness. We already have such a committee in effect among the Muslims. It compels our people to their clean bodies as well as their clean houses. If you have only one suit of clothing, you should wash it and press it each night so that you can wear it the next day. If you are not able to have your hair trimmed at the barbershop, you should take turns in trimming each other's hair. You must shave yourselves and look like men. And our women should clean up. You do not have to have a dozen dresses. Just keep the one you have clean and pressed until we enforce cleanliness among the people of our nation and get them into the spirit of self-respect and the spirit of making themselves the equal of other civilized nations of the earth. We will never be recognized as being fit members of any decent society of those nations. Send your quarters every week to Muhammad's Temple, number 2, in Chicago, Illinois. These quarters will be baked until we have $1 million to begin building a baking system. We have wasted too much money trying to be the equal of the millionaires of America. We like sport and play, but we suffer the pains of hunger because of the millions of dollars lost paying notes for luxuries we could do without, such as fine automobiles, fine clothes, whiskey, beer, wine, cigarettes, tobacco, and drugs. Let the entire nation sacrifice for 3 years. Confine ourselves to buy not more than 3 suits of clothing a year, never exceeding $65 in cost. Buy the minimum amount of shoes, never paying over $16 a pair, as long as current prices for the above mentioned merchandise remain the same. Of course, inflation can run up prices until money has no value. We should cut down on waste and high-priced food. Eat pure and wholesome food without being extravagant. Let us cut our extravagances as soon as we have enough money in our banks to purchase lands sufficient to feed the 22 million Black people. We will build storage warehouses to store supplies of the necessities for life of our people. I believe that if we make these sacrifices throughout the nation for 3 years, all our nations are doing or have done, we will soon rid our people of poverty and want. Russia did it on a 5-year plan. Pakistan and other nations did it and are on top today. We must sacrifice for 3 years. I will not ask you to try a 5-year plan. I am afraid that you, with your short patience, will not agree. But try 3 years on an economic savings program to fight against poverty among our people here in America. I know you will become a happier and more recognized people and have a spirit of independence, which is the glory of any nation. Please respond with no preface. Each and every one of you will be sent a receipt, which will be recorded in our books for the Muslims' 3-year economic program for the Black nation in America. You will get a receipt for every penny you send to this office, which you will keep as your record. You can mail the money directly to the Muslims' 3-year economic program department, Muhammad's Temple, number 2, 7351, Stony Island Avenue, Chicago, Illinois, 60649. You can send 25 cents each week or $1 per month. Send postal or personal money orders. No personal checks will be accepted unless your financial savings are verified by the bank. We, the Muslims, will support this program and hope that every member of the working class of our people throughout the country will join us. We will show the world that we can build an independent nation out of those who have been a dependent people for 400 years. We are asking you to help us enlarge our educational system so that our people can be educated. This we refer to as re-education, and to the knowledge of self, our history, and the knowledge of the good things of life, of which we have been deprived. You can also aid us by subscribing to the Muhammad Speaks newspapers. May Allah bless our poor, dependent people in America with better homes and more money and better friendships among the nations of the earth. Amen.
This is Minister Rebecca Roxman of the Nation of Islam, Allah's Temple, number 1. A sound economic plan. 1. The economic plight of the Black people in this land has so long been neglected by so-called leaders that even our own people have forgotten its basic importance. Our economic position remains at the bottom of the ladder because of this ineffective leadership and because so many of our people ignore the basic rules of healthy economic life. We fail to develop self-leadership in economics. We are in the midst of the so-called civil rights struggle, and ferment among the Black and oppressed reaches new heights. I shall list critically but constructively the guide and outline which must be followed if this Black nation of 22 million is ever to achieve true independence and equality. We shall begin with these 4 points. Number 1, our knowledge of self, others, and the time should force us to become more prudent in our spending. Unnecessary spending by trying to keep pace with the wealthy of this country has done more to put us on the path of the prodigal son than anything else. Let us be taught how to spend and save by those of us who desire to see us out of poverty and want. Number 2, do not be too proud to meet together as leaders and teachers to discuss the solution of how to stop the reckless downhill fall of our people. Number 3, not one so-called Negro leader seems to want a meeting with me to discuss the plight of our poor people in North America. Number 4, I have set before you a program according to the divine supreme being and his prophets. You have neither produced a better program nor anything to equal it. Your present plans are involved in one of the most disgraceful programs, especially you who boast that you are free and want freedom, justice, and equality with your slave masters by sitting, standing, and begging to be accepted as the brother of those who for 400 years have brought you into a present condition and have made you a people unwanted by the civilized nations of the earth. No one wants foolish people who love everyone but themselves and not their own kind. Who would rather beg than go and for self, or even ask for the slave masters to help them go for self? Such people, numbering into the millions, are on the road to destruction if their downhill speed is not checked by Allah God and His messenger. How to make an economic program successful? It is very hard for the economist to plan a wise program to see his plans carried out because the so-called American Negroes' economics are controlled by the white man. The white man owns this country and the industry. He is manufacturer and producer of everything. Now it is different to plan an economic program for a dependent people who for all their lives have tried to like the white man. The first step to the so-called Negroes wage earners should take is to spend only when necessary according to their income. They should save as much of their salaries as possible, weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly. We, as wage earners, should always plan to save something from whatever we are paid. Do not become extravagant spenders like the rich who own the country and everything in it. It is sheer ignorance for us to try to compete in luxury with the owner. If we just save 5 cents a day from our wages, 25 cents a week, $1 a month, that would mean $52 a year we could save in a national savings bank. We must number around 22 million, approximately 5 million are wage earners. If 5 million wage earners save $52 a year, this could mean 260 million saved out of our wages. At the rate of 25 cents per week, it would be painless. But the so-called Negroes do not have that in a national bank. Let us see how much money we spend unnecessarily. Suppose we spent the same amount, 25 cents a week, in tobacco, cigarettes, cigars, chewing, or snuff dipping. Of course, you will spend far more than that. Some people spend 25 cents per day for cigarettes alone. Let us say we spent the same amount, 25 cents a week, on beer. Again, the actual amount would be more than means 260 million a year spent for beer and the same spent for whiskey, wine, cigarettes, and cigars. We have spent unnecessary on sports. You average the same on sports, 260 million, and another 260 million is spent in gambling, averaging 5 cents a day, 25 cents a week. This is just the minimum of 5 million wage earners save just $47 per year. They could save over $1 billion a year. This figure would be far greater if we included extravagant buying of clothes, furniture, and cars, eating the hog, the divinely forbidden flesh which keeps us filled with arthritis, rheumatism, high blood pressure, and fever, makes unnecessary doctor and drug bills. All of this wasteful spending should be checked, and you will see within 1 year period that you have not saved 1 billion, that you have not saved 1 billion, but several billion. The economical way to use money you save is first to buy a farm and land produces your own food. You could raise enough cattle, sheep, cows, and chickens by the thousands if you try following our program. We could cut down on the clothing bills, some of us by 30%, and yet be well dressed again. In this way, we could build a national savings bank from the deposits of ourselves and invest our money in the purchase of necessary things for our nation. This you could cut down on your present high cost of living. Purchase the real estate, buy farm and timberland, convert the timber into lumber, and build homes for yourself as a white man is doing. Of course, he will have the authority over whether or not to sell that land to you. Get clay land with marsh clay. Clay land and hill clay. You can make your own bricks. Bricks are inexpensive to make once you get your clean built and tract land. The greatest expense would be the coal or gas to fire your bricks. Build bricks homes for your own people and sell them to your people at a very reasonable price. Pardon me. Try and save your people from unnecessary high prices buying. Take your cotton to the mill and have it converted into lint, and take the lint to the textile mill and have it converted into cloth. You are very smart. We have many technicians among us who are about as smart as they come. Why shouldn't we get together and produce something for ourselves? Ask the government to help us go for ourselves. And if the government will not help us, although we and our fathers have been loyal and helped them to become and remain independent, then appeal to your own people to allow you to move in among them. I am sure that if you are a Muslim, you can find a place anywhere on the earth. We are the righteous, and we should not be hard for us to do something for self if we unite. We do not need to unite and then go to fight some other nation and get their country. No, that will not be necessary. Unfollow me, and I will show you how to do this without having to shed a drop of blood. Shedding blood for something that you are divinely justified in having is not necessary. It is a disgrace for us to have all this present trouble standing around, begging, quarreling, and fighting with the slave masters over something that we can do for ourselves if given a chance. This chance can be had if we go about in the right way. Amen.
That concludes our reading of Message to the Black Man in America by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Our next reading will be on Friday for our Bible study, and the order will go as follows. Daim will read the Economic Program 2 on page 197. I will read Up, You Can Accomplish As You Will. Kamal will read The World Hails the New Economic Plan. Amaria will read Separation, Independence. Sister Rebecca will read Protection of the Faithful. Daim will read We Seek Truth and Justice. I will read Were Muslims Framed to Whitewash the Guilty. Kamal will read Right to Peaceful Assembly Denied to the So-Called American Negroes. Amaria will read The Right of Self-Defense. And Sister Rebecca will read The Unity of 20 Million. And we will now transition to our Islamic presentations. Do we have any brothers or sisters who would like to present?
Yes, sir.
We will have the Muhammad children give their Islamic presentations, followed by Sister Rebecca, and we will start with Daim giving us his Islamic presentation.
This is Minister Daim of the Nation of Islam, Allah Support number 1. I did my Islamic presentation on our video titled War of Christ 2012, Part 2 of 13. The most Christ faithful people on the earth are black people. It is not a stereotype. Blacks hold Jesus in their household as a literal member of the family. For over 100 years, over 100 years ago, black people were brought to America as slaves from Africa, and history shows that the majority of the slaves were taken from West Africa. The main religion of West Africa was the Yoruba religion, and because of the various religious practices of the tribes of Africa, the religions were known based off the name of the tribe. There is something that these tribes have in common with each other, though, and that is that of slaves. They all had a belief in a supreme being or creator, which was referred to by many names depending on the tribe. The slaves or the fathers taken from Africa did not have a holy scripture. They had oral-based religions, spoken by word rather than scripture. The first slave trader among the Africans was a man by the name of Sir John Hawkins, who was Queen Elizabeth's slave trader. The first slave ship that was manned by John Hawkins was named Jesus, or the good ship Jesus. The first black slaves of 400 years ago were not like us. They wanted to leave and go back to Africa. So as they stood on the shores of America, they prayed to Jesus, the ship, to take them home, back to Africa, to heaven. And they were sent to the field only to pray to Jesus, the ship, to return. They were stripped of their names and were given names of their prospective slave masters, such as Johnson, Smith, Brown, Jackson, etc. They were prevented from reading and writing, so they not only lost the knowledge of themselves, but they had no way of gaining intelligence. After the slaves received the name of his slave master, he was given his slave master's religion, Christianity. In this religion, they learned about a man named Jesus, and also learned that one day that man named Jesus would return and save them if they believed in him. And when the slaves were taught by this man Jesus, on Sundays they did not have to work. They had the day off. So it was not as hard as you think for the slaves to accept Christianity, especially the newer generations born into it. In the slave's mind, Jesus' name was already synonymous with salvation because the early slaves had already prayed for Jesus' return, the ship. Amen.
This is Minister Rafiq of the Nation of Islam, Allah's Temple number 1. I am presenting on the Here is Wisdom series, and this is part 8 of my coverage. The key aspect of wisdom is insight. Insight is similar to our physical sight with our two eyes, but insight is our sight within ourselves. It is our inner vision. More formally, insight is defined as clear or deep perception of a situation. In other words, wisdom and insight are our sight beyond the sight of our physical eye. It is sight beyond sight. Deep perception of a situation takes place in our minds. When dealing with a situation, we first recognize that we have a problem and have an idea of who or what is involved. That is the light, which is the amount of understanding that we have about a situation. If we understand something or a part of something, that means that we are able to apply logic and reasoning to it. When dealing with the little facts of a situation, the who, what, when, where, why, and how, we are dealing with the logic of the situation and what we can reason with. And of course, we know that this is being carried out by the left hemisphere of the brain, the masculine side of it. When dealing with an issue, there are also things that we don't know. This lack of knowledge is what is causing the problem in the first place. When we don't know something, we say that we are in the dark and are ignorant of some of the facts involved. What we are dealing with in situations like these is light versus darkness, knowledge versus ignorance, truth versus lies, facts versus beliefs. When we are in the dark about an issue, or even in the dark in the physical sense, we must rely on our intuition and our emotions and the feelings that we get. For example, if I'm outside and it is pitch black and I hear something in the bushes, I won't be able to reasonably or logically determine what that is because I can't see it. But my intuition would say that something is not right. Why is something cracking in the bushes over there? This doesn't feel right. Using my intuition would take place in the right hemisphere of my brain, the feminine aspect of it. If we want to achieve insight and exercise wisdom, we must be able to apply both our reasoning and our intuitive abilities in proper proportion to the situation. When we are able to do this, we will be able to see the light in our mind to solve the problems of the situations that we are facing. At this point, we can say that we are enlightened about the situation, meaning that we have the light within ourselves to be able to make us able to see the solution that our physical eyes could not. Jesus described this enlightenment and inner wisdom in the Bible. In the book of Luke, chapter 11, verse 34, it reads, "The light of the body is the eye. Therefore, when thine eye is single, thy whole body is also full of light. But when thy eye is evil, thy body is also full of darkness." In this parable, Jesus describes two different states. One state in which we are enlightened and another state in which we are in the darkness. When we look at this verse more closely, we see that Jesus is equating light and darkness to singleness and evil. When we compare the statements, we can clearly see that light is the opposite of darkness, but on the other hand, we see that single is the opposite of evil, according to Jesus. According to Scripture, another term for evil is double-mindedness. In the book of James, chapter 4, verse 8, it reads, "Draw nigh to God, and he will draw nigh to you. Cleanse your hands, ye sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded." Here, the Scriptures refer to evildoers and sinners as double-minded. Going further, when we look at the definition of duplicitous, it is defined as marked by deliberate deceptiveness, especially by pretending one set of feelings and acting under the influence of another set of feelings. A more familiar term that people use today for an evil and dishonest person is two-faced, double-tongued, or double dealers. So we see here that evil is associated with a duality. Now we can go back to the Jesus' parable, which reads, "The light of the body is the eye. Therefore, when thine eye is single, thy whole body is also full of light. But when thine eye is double, thy body is also full of darkness." If we are not able to use our logic and reasoning along with our intuition and emotions in complete harmony, we will not be able to solve any of our problems because we will not be able to see what is beyond what is right in front of us. We may see the problem with both of our physical eyes, but we will not be able to use our mind to solve the problem. We will be full of ignorance and darkness of how to solve the problem. So the single eye that Jesus was referring to was the spiritual eye, the third eye, insight, the mind. Amen.
This is Minister Kamal Muhammad of the Nation of Islam, Allah Simple Number 1. I am presenting my Islamic presentation on Master Farad Muhammad, The Iron Will of God, Iron Man by Black Sabbath, Part 2 of 3. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that the white man made us other than ourselves. He made us deaf, dumb, and blind to the knowledge of ourselves. From the article Black and White, published in by Muhammad Speaks newspaper on March 21st, 1969, said, quote, "He calls himself a Negro. Let us see what this Negro actually means. In log mills, there is a large piece of iron that is powered by steam that turns the logs from sawing boards from it by what we call the sawyer. This piece of iron is called the nigger. The sawyer makes this piece of iron turn the log in whatever way he wants it to be turned. I have worked in sawmills when I was a young man. This piece of iron, nigger, which is used to turn the heavy log, is neutral. It cannot move itself. It cannot move of itself. We see that the nigger is a tool that can be turned in any direction. So we're basically being called Iron or Iron Man. So the black man in America is Iron Man. Steel is the element iron mixed with carbon. The result is a material that is stronger than iron, that can be more readily regain its shape. Remember that the Sabbath day is in which the Lord began his reign. So we have the Black Sabbath. The Caucasian timeline was 6,000 years, so the white man's number is 6. Master Farad Muhammad, Allah in person, was born on February 26, 1877. If we look at his birth date and the first two letters of February, we have FE, which is the symbol for iron, and we have the date he was born, which is 26. So we have FE26, and we can now refer to Mass Farad Muhammad as Iron Man. The song Iron Man first says, I am Iron Man. In the book of Exodus, chapter 3, verse 14, it states, And God said unto Moses, I am that I am. And he said, Thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, I am have seen have seen unto you. The first verse goes as, He has lost his mind, can he see or is he blind? Can he walk at all, or if he moves will he fall? Here, the white man is talking about the niggers, or a piece of iron he has made. He knows we are deaf, dumb, and blind because he made us that way. The next verse goes, Is he alive or dead? Has he thought within his head? Will he just pass from there? Why should we even care? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us that the black man in America is mentally dead, and our graveyard is Christianity, our slave understanding of the Bible. The white man purposely put us in this condition, so why should we care that we are in this condition? He was turned to steel. Amen.
This is Mr. Amaria Muhammad of the Nation of Islam, Allah Subhanahu number 1. I'm presenting my song presentation on Black Messiah 2012 AD, Part 4 of 28. Our solar system consists of the Sun and the 9 planets. Now our solar system is surrounded by constellations of stars. It's part of a greater system of stars known as a galaxy. A galaxy is known as the Milky Way. The Milky Way has a center about which all the stars, including our sun, rotates around, just as the Earth and the Sun have a plane of rotation. It is known as the ecliptic. The Milky Way has been a plane of rotation for its stars. This is known as the galactic plane. Since 1975, something very unique has been occurring. First, our sun began to enter in the region of the galactic plane, aligning itself with the galactic plane of the Milky Way. Second, the sun of the Earth and the plane of our galaxy has been aligning on the winter solstice during this time, meaning during each winter solstice since 1975. The Earth has been coming into almost perfect alignment with the plane of the galaxy, separated by approximately 7 degrees. This is due to the tilt of the Earth in about 23 degrees, and the galactic plane is at 60 degrees. This phenomenon occurs for approximately 45 years. So the sun will have made its journey through the Milky Way's equatorial plane or galactic plane by 2019, which is this year, and will not occur again for another 25,000 years. From our perspective, our sun is moving to the east or eastward through the galactic plane. It is traveling toward the eastern star Vega. Vega is the brightest star in the eastern sky in the constellation of Lyra. So one may say that every 25,000 years the sun rises from the west. Vega is 25 light years from Earth and was referred to in ancient time as the judge of heaven and the life of heaven. Also concerning the 25,000-year cycle, the Indian tribe known as the Mayans had a calendar that calculated this time period. Amen.
This is Minister Rebecca Rockman of the Nation of Islam, Allah's Temple number 1. I'm continuing my presentation on last week's Science of 7, Part 2. And it says, the lamb is a tribe of Judah, but we know this lion is a, oh no, this is the wrong one, I'm sorry. bi-weekly telling us of the coming prophecies and doom awakening us in the time. Because most of our people rejected the knowledge of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and are not aware of the time. If you're not aware of the time you're living in and thinking with the true knowledge of God, you are dead. And as long as we're asleep or are dead to the knowledge of who we are and the true knowledge of God, the devil continues to rule. That's in the Holy Quran. Since the devil has an agreement with God, as long as the black man and woman are asleep as to who they really are, he continues to rule. He's going to do everything he can to stay in power, and that means keeping us asleep. In Revelation chapter 10, verse 1, it reads, "And I saw a mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with clouds, and a rainbow was upon his head, and his face was as if the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire. And he had in his hand a little book open, and he set his right foot upon the sea and his left foot upon the earth, and cried with a loud voice. And when the lion roared, and when he had cried, 7 thunders uttered their voices. And when the 7 thunders had uttered their voices, I was about to write, and I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, Fill up those things which the 7 thunders uttered, and write them not. And the angel which I saw stand upon the sea and upon the earth lifted up his hand to heaven, and swear by him that liveth forever and ever, who created heaven and the things that are in, and the earth, and in the things that there are, and the sea, and the things which are therein, that there should be time no longer. But in the days of the voice of the 7th angel, when he shall begin to sound, the mystery of God shall be finished, as he hath declared to his servant, the prophet." This is what the Son of Man is doing in our midst today. He's already placed one foot on the water of the spiritual water, teaching the understanding of the Word of God, and is now placing his foot on the land, meaning the physical world that we live in. In chapter 10, verse 6, it says that the 7th angel swore by him that liveth forever and ever. Who is he that liveth forever and ever? That's Master Farad Muhammad, Allah in person. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that the wisdom of Master Farad Muhammad, Allah in person, the judge that's appearing to us today. That's appearing today in a few days, is that it liveth forever and ever. He is the one that the Son of Man preaches and teaches to us every week. I swear by him, I trust in him that he liveth forever and ever. Let us get into the 7th seal of the physical sense. The Son of Man has studied physics on the master's level and is now teaching us the 7 seals that the devil rules in order to keep us asleep. So he can keep ruling. So in order to keep us asleep, meaning keeping you without knowledge of ourselves, he has to be able to control your mind. And in the movie Matrix, the people were attached. They were in a machine environment, controlling a virtual reality, but their physical bodies were in pods wired into a system, and their minds were being controlled by the machine. The physical bodies were emotionally dead, but their minds were alive. But in the virtual reality, they did not know that they were inside of a matrix or a fantasy. We're not living in a matrix control. It's some room like in the movie. We're controlled by the white man, the 2 wires that attach to your mind, that attach to the world around you, is audio and visual, meaning that you see what you hear, meaning this is how you learn, how you interact with your environment with sight and sound. In order for the devil to keep you asleep, he has to be in control of what you see and hear. This gives us a hint if you go to the book of, Ephesians chapter 2, verse 2. And it reads, one moment, please. Here it is. Where in the time past you walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience. What does this mean? What does this mean that he's the prince of the air? What comes over the air? It's audio and visual and the television. When it says that the devil or white man is the prince of the air, that means a prince is a ruler, someone that is control of his kingdom, that is in control of his kingdom. He controls what you see and hear, like when you watch CNN, NBC, when you go to the movies, listen to the radio. The white man determines what you see and hear. You have to have his permission from the devil to even be on air. So he rules. He is the prince of the air. Amen.
Thank you, Sister Rebecca.
Yes, sir.
That was a really good presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Do we have any questions or comments before we close our Sunday school?
Yes. In the name of Allah, who appeared and is in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Everyone hear my voice clearly?
Yes, sir.
A few words. I got a text message from my son this afternoon, and he sent me a text message and asked me, is it true that there's no such thing as a coincidence? I'm going off memory, but basically my response was, who said that there was no such thing as a coincidence? And then my son responded. He said, I think you said it, Dad, in a lecture. And then I responded. I said, yes, I said that, but it was a figure of speech. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
When you're talking to a God or a master, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad made the following statement. He said, getting acquainted with God is not like getting acquainted with the common fool. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Well, one meaning of that is that when you're talking to God or you're talking to a master or someone that's very, very proficient in their field, things are not always black and white. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
So it can be, depending on your level of consciousness, it can be a bit confusing when talking to, someone on a higher level than you. Now, the situation with coincidence. My son Daim, whenever you grow up and become an old man, you got children. There's a certain reward that you get by having children. It is a blessing from Allah to interact with your children. But that's kind of hard to explain to you if you never had them. But anyway, so a while ago, Daim made a statement, there's no such thing as a coincidence. And Dad said, that's right, there's no such thing as a coincidence. And then my other son said, Dad, is it true there's no such thing as coincidence? And then Dad says, well, who said there's no such thing as coincidence? And then Dad says, well, and the son says, well, you did. I said, well, that's just a figure of speech. And so it appears that Daddy is saying, we don't know what Daddy's saying. Is there a coincidence or isn't there? Is that right?
Yes, sir.
You know, I believe it's in Fall of America. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad was speaking about Master Farad Muhammad. He said that God does not speak one word that does not have meaning. Every word he speaks has meaning. As the Quran says, we have made the words to have many connections. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
I've made an observation that my babies, my children here, basically do the lectures, that have the pretty graphics, that's in a presentation style. I really don't see my children going and do, like this lecture today I'm doing right now. Like if I take this lecture and let's say I put it on YouTube and says the truth or the wisdom about coincidence. It appears at this time that my children, they're not going to do that lecture. They'll go do like here is wisdom or, some lectures with pictures and graphs. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
But the more mature you get, you're going to wake up one day, you say, you know what? Man, I'm going to do this. I'm going to study this one. The one with just the words without the pictures. That was a little more deeper, or that's a little more interesting, or I want to do a lecture on that. That's when you start doing the lectures, when you're hearing the words that I speak, and it start to motivate and move your mind. The word, you're going from being a baby with training wheels on to walking. But anyway, let's get back to coincidence. Let's say you walk outside and you look up in the sky. And let's say that Daim, Rafiq, Mon and Mario walk outside. And they look up and they see a cloud in the sky. And Daim says, that cloud looks like an elephant. And then Kamal says, no, that cloud looks like a rhinoceros. Then Rafiq says, no, that cloud looks like a whale. And then Amaria says, what are you guys talking about? That's just a cloud. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Well, the question becomes, who's right? Does the cloud look like an elephant, a rhinoceros, a whale, or is it just a cloud? Who's right?
Everybody?
All of them.
All of you. The point is, what you are a creator. When you look at the sky and you see that cloud, and your mind gives that cloud meaning to you, then that's what that cloud means to you. And if Kamal just happened to be looking at a video last week about rhinoceroses, and he looks up in the sky and see a cloud, he says that looks like a rhinoceros. What a coincidence. So that's not a coincidence. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Because it does have meaning to Kamal. So in one light, there is no such thing as a coincidence. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
So Daim is right. But Amaria is sitting there listening to her three brothers, And she's like, oh, these boys here, one think it's a rhinoceros, he think it's a whale, and the other one think it's an elephant. This is just a stupid cloud. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Well, it may just be a coincidence to Amaria that you all see, that your views on the same cloud coincides to three different interpretations at the same time. Well, that's a coincidence. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So the question becomes, well, what's the answer? I mean, are there coincidences or not? This is the answer, Rafiq. What you must understand is that the Bible in the book of Psalms says that ye are gods, and all of you are the children of the Most High. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. In the Bible, I'll tell you what, I guess we're going to turn to it. One moment. Rafiq, well, all of you turn to the book of Mark.
I'm there.
I got it.
Rafiq,
Sir.
read the 22nd. One moment. Read the 22nd through the 24th verses of Mark.
Chapter 1.
Chapter 11. Excuse me.
What were the verses again, sir?
Read the book of Mark, chapter 11, verses 22, 23, and 24.
Yes, sir. And Jesus answering saith unto them, have faith in God. For verily I say unto you, that whosoever shall say unto this mountain, be thou removed, and be thou cast into the sea, and shall not doubt in his heart, but shall believe that those things which he saith shall come to pass, he shall have whatsoever he saith. Therefore I say unto you, what things soever you desire, when you pray, believe that you receive them, and you shall have them.
Now, let's get back to coincidence. About a year or so ago, I was having a conversation with Sister Rebecca, and I said I want a tornado to come to Mississippi just to prove this liar wrong. And then the tornado came. My question to the class is, was that a coincidence?
No, sir. No, sir.
No, sir.
Is there anybody in here that think it was a coincidence?
No, sir.
No, sir. No, sir.
The truth is, it was a coincidence if I said it was a coincidence. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Example number 2. I said to my children and Sister Rebecca, I said I'm meditating on tornadoes. My son Kamal writes me back. He says, where, Dad? I said, Mississippi. The next day, tornadoes struck throughout Mississippi. Was that a coincidence?
Yes,
No, sir.
If you said it.
No, sir. It was not. Wait a minute. What'd you say, Maria?
I said if you said it was. That's
right, baby. If I said it was. The was a coincidence. Now, example number 3. I wrote you all a text message. I said the city of New Orleans I had a dream the city of New Orleans is on fire as I was leaving. Now, a week later, the city of New Orleans was on fire as I was going to New Orleans and not leaving. Was that a coincidence?
Yes, sir.
Was it a coincidence?
No, sir.
What was it a coincidence, Amaria?
Only if you say it was.
That's right, baby. Only if you say it. Well, see how wise Amaria is? Y'all think that she don't say nothing, she don't know. But why is it Amaria's exercising more wisdom than everybody in here, including Sister Rebecca? It is
Yes,
if
sir.
I said it was. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And if we was in school, I would call Amaria to the front of the class and put a gold star on her forehead.
Yes, sir.
Now, so let's get to it, Rafi. Let's talk about this. Amaria said it's a coincidence if Daddy said it was a coincidence. That's what Amaria said. But what if Daddy said it's not a coincidence? Now what are you dealing with? What is it now? If it's not a coincidence, what are you dealing with?
You
are dealing with control. You are dealing with what? Causality. Is that right, Daeem?
Yes, sir.
Cause and effect. Daeem says there is no coincidences. There is a connection. Things just don't happen by accident. Things just don't happen. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Is that true, Rafi? Do
Yes, sir.
accidents happen, Rafi?
Yes, sir. Accidents happen.
Well, what is an accident? And basically, without looking in the dictionary, an accident basically is a unintended occurrence. Something that happened that you did not mean for it to happen. Something that happens without intent. A mistake. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, Rafi, are there accidents?
Yes, sir.
Well, is it not true, Rafi, that a coincidence is deemed, as something like an accident sometimes?
Yes, sir.
Isn't it true, Sister Rebecca, that the Quran says that there is not a leaf that falls to the ground that Allah does not know?
Yes, sir.
Well, if on planet Earth, if there is not one leaf that falls to the earth that Allah is not aware of, if Allah is aware of every leaf that falls on planet Earth, then how could there be accidents? How can things go on planet Earth that Allah did not intend to happen? If everything that is happening on planet Earth is what Allah intended, then there are no accidents, Rafi. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
But that depends on your level of understanding. On what level are we talking about? On what level are we talking about coincidences? On what level are we talking about accidents? Depends on your perspective. Well, from Rafiq's perspective, there are coincidences. There are accidents. From Daeem's perspective, there are no coincidences. Just depend on your level of thinking. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
But let's get back to this gold star answer from Amaria. She said it's a coincidence if Daddy said it was a coincidence. Is that right?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Causality.
Cause.
Cause and effect.
Causality. Cause and effect, right? Now, did we not read in the book of Mark that Jesus, according to the Bible, Jesus said, if thou say unto this mountain, be thou cast into the sea, and you doubt it not, it shall happen. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Is that coincidence or is that causality?
Causality.
Causality.
It is causality. In other words, class, we are dealing with what? Power. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Now, when Amaria told you that it's a coincidence, if Daddy says it's a coincidence, what that really means is if Daddy should so decide not to pick up the power and recognize his God-given power, then he has no power. But if he recognizes his power and says, no, this ain't no accident, this ain't luck, I caused that, then we're dealing with the power of what? Belief. We're dealing with power. We're dealing with causality. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Rafiq, turn to the second. Oh, y'all, turn to the second chapter of Psalms, and Rafiq, read the 12th verse of the second chapter of Psalms.
Kiss the Son, lest he be angry and you perish from the way, when his wrath is kindled but a little. Blessed are all they that put their trust in him.
Now, here in the book of Psalms, David is telling you, hey, let's put this in other words. Hey, you better respect this man, the son. You know, better act right around him or do what he say, because if you don't, you ain't gonna be around here for long. Because he gonna get rid of you. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
What we are dealing with in the second chapter of Psalms, in the 12th verse, is somebody that has some serious power. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
What are we dealing with in the book of Mark, chapter 22 through 24? We're dealing with somebody with some serious power. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Turn to the 6th chapter of the book of Revelation.
Got it. Got it.
Come on, read the 15th through the 17th verse.
And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the almighty men, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb, for the great day his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand?
Now, here in the book of Revelation, chapter 6, Kamar just read a passage in Scripture by somebody with some serious power. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Somebody with some serious causality. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Do you think that the people on the planet Earth is running from somebody because they think it's a coincidence that he said something is happening? Would they be running if they thought it was a coincidence?
No, sir.
No, they not. They don't think it's a coincidence. They like Daeed. No, there ain't no coincidence. It's him. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Example number 4. On November 11th, I told, again, my children, I think Sister Rebecca too, I'm meditating on earthquakes. And I said I wanted a powerful earthquake. And I said a 10.0 would be great. Ain't that right, Kamal?
Yes, sir.
Now, there are people, or there's an argument to be made, well, son of man, well, Minister Kevin Muhammad, earthquakes happen every day, all day. That is true. But when was the last time you felt or you read about a 10.0 earthquake? That's like off the Richter scale. That don't happen every day. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, a 10.0 earthquake in China will not be felt in America. As powerful as it is, a 10.0 earthquake in California won't be felt in Louisiana. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
But what happened on November 11th when I told you I was meditating on earthquakes and I said a 10.0 would be nice? Did you not read or see that the whole planet shook?
Yes, sir.
Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is that something that I said, or is that something that the scientists from around the world marveled at?
Something that you said.
Something that you said.
Amaria, was that a coincidence?
Only if you said it was.
Only if I said it was. Get that girl another gold star. It wasn't no coincidence. Ain't that right, Daeem?
Yes, sir.
That was no coincidence. Ain't that right? Come on.
Yes, sir.
Was that a coincidence, Rafi?
No, sir.
That's what? Causality. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
That's what? Power, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. It's just like this karate movie made in the 1980s called The Last Dragon. And Bruce Leroy, the black Bruce Lee was, his family. His brother got threw in a garbage can. These thugs came in and vandalized his parents' business. And when he came back, they left. By the time he got there, they had left. So he walks in, and his whole family business has been trashed, and they taking his brother out the trash can. They beat him up, too. And his brother looked at him. And he said, man, you getting punked. He said, what good is it to know all that stuff, to know that kung fu, and you won't use it? What good is it to have it? Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Now, I've been claiming and causing earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes. Is that right?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
But if I had doubt in my heart, if I doubted Allah, if I doubted myself, and called it a coincidence, then I would have done what? Denied my own power? Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So whether or not it was a coincidence, it wouldn't matter because I don't believe it anyway. It just well be coincidence if I don't believe it. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. That's what this is all about. To him that overcometh. Overcome what? Overcome fear and doubt. To him, I will give power to rule the nations. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
The most honorable Elijah Muhammad told you. He said that the knowledge to control the forces of nature are passed from father to son. And he said if you get this kind of power, he said, then you can rule. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
The most honorable Elijah Muhammad also said that Allah will show and teach the seventh angel where to stand. Because the seventh angel is going to set the nation on fire. Meaning he's going to set the entire North American continent on fire. And those flames will go up 12 miles in the air. He will raise his hands in prayer and set the nation on fire with by his will alone. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
That is not that we're not talking about coincidences. We're talking about causality. We're talking about what? Power. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Do you understand now, Rafi?
Yes, sir.
Now, let me share a couple of more things I want to say to you. I'm going to get on off of here. You know. You know, well, I don't know if I should tell y'all that because, you know, there are things that I don't tell you because, there are things that I don't say because I don't want to. There's a certain effect on your mind I don't want to have. So I gotta be careful what I say because I don't want something to happen. But let me say this. You know, we're talking about power and causality. And we're talking about clouds in the sky. We're talking about signs. And like Amaria said, it's a coincidence if you say it's a coincidence. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, let me give you an example. About a couple weeks ago, or a week ago, whatever it was, I was at the golf course. And I was at the driving range hitting balls. Okay? Now, on the golf course, they have ducks or geese that walk around and quack, quack, quack all day, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I would say about 30 or 40 feet in front of me, the geese were there walking around. And there's quite a few people on the golf range hitting balls over the geese's head. You know, by the time they get to the geese, the ball is way up in the air. So the geese are no apparent danger. Well, you know, they're not in any real danger because when you hit a ball, it kind of goes over their head. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'm just hitting balls. Been hitting balls for a long time. Years of hitting balls. So I hit one ball and an accident happened. Something unintended happened by myself. I hit a goose in the head. And when I hit the goose in the head, he just dropped. And he didn't move. He kind of got up, but he didn't move. I mean, he was just stunned. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Understand something. That the goose was right in front of me. So he got the full force of that golf ball. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And when I hit the goose, I knew it had to hurt. And I felt so bad. And I didn't want the goose to die. So after a while, 20, 30 minutes, an hour, I mean, that duck was walking backwards. I mean, the ducks were going one way, and he went the other way. He was messed up for a minute. It was kind of funny to see. Sad funny, but it was kind of funny because he wasn't with the rest of the group. He was kind of off his rocker. But eventually, he kind of got together, and he joined the other goose. And apparently, he was okay. Understood?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, 2 days ago, two devils was at the golf course. The devil is way kind of a lot farther back from the ducks than I was. And he's playing golf. He wasn't at the driving range hitting balls. He was on a golf course. And the ducks were a lot further ahead in front of him than they were me. So the devil hit a ball, and it hit another goose. But when the devil's ball hit the goose died. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And the goose was further away from the devil than he was me. And the devil, I can't put that on Satan. I don't think Satan was aiming for the ducks. He was trying to hit the ball on the green playing golf. So the devil accidentally hit the goose too. But when he accidentally hit the goose was killed. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. So the goose died, sitting there on the golf course in front of the pond, dead. The dead goose on one side of the pond, and about on the other side of the pond, not even 50 feet, the other gooses are sitting over there. They looking kind of worried. They know he gone, but they ain't coming nowhere near him. So the goose dead. All right. Now, I'm almost there. Now, about 2 or 3 days before one of those goose died, I was at the golf course. And someone was at the golf course that I hadn't seen in a very, very long time. Matter of fact, his name is Alton Bates. It was Alton Bates Sr. He's a lawyer. I went to law school with his son, Alton Bates II. He's a retired lawyer. You know, he's a congenial associate of mine. So I said, hey, Mr. Bates. And so I started walking over to shake Mr. Bates' hand. But around Mr. Bates was the geese. Okay? So as I was walking toward Mr. Bates, one of the geese started hissing at me as if the goose was going to attack me. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when the goose revved up and hissed at me for no reason, I made a beeline from Mr. Bates and tried to kick the goose. Chase, he ran away. Now, I guess I had an evil thought in my mind about that goose. But I forgot about it and went on to talk to Mr. Bates. A couple days later, one of those same goose, if not that goose, was dead. Was that a coincidence?
No, sir.
Was that a coincidence, Amaria?
Only if you said it was.
Sister Rebecca learned one day, only if I said it was.
Yes, sir.
Causality. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Well, let's go back to the beginning and look at this situation. Maybe that goose dying, and a couple of days before that goose making a bad noise at me. Maybe it was like that cloud in the sky. Maybe it was just a goose hissing, and goose die every day, I'm sure. Maybe it was just a cloud. Maybe it was just a cloud in the sky. Right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
But as I told you in the beginning, we are gods. We are creators. It is what I say it is. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
What is the point? What is the point? This is the point. I'll go back to New Orleans and the city of New Orleans on fire and the mothership in New Orleans an hour before I got there. What you must understand is this, and you must start thinking about the things I tell you, not just on Sunday. Anytime the Son of Man is talking to you, I don't care if we're talking about music. I don't care what we're talking about. Anytime a man of God is communicating with you, you always pay attention. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, this is something that you must realize. I did not care if the city of New Orleans was on. When I had a dream, if I tell them this dream and it don't happen, that's going to prove I'm not the Son of Man, or they're not going to believe me anymore. When I didn't go through that. I didn't care about that. I simply told you what I seen in my dream. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
There was no doubt about it happening or doubt it wasn't going to happen. I didn't care to speak what was in my heart. I didn't care. I didn't fear that. I didn't fear to tell my own son, my own flesh and blood, that I am meditating on tornadoes in Mississippi. I did not fear to tell my own children that I'm meditating on an earthquake. And these things are happening. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
No fear, no doubt. What is the point I am getting to? The point I am getting to is this. And let me back up a minute, because I want to tell it to you in a way that you can accept it or deal with it. Let me put it to you this way. What I am telling you is that the Son of Man, whoever he is, if the Son of Man is what? The judge. Is that right, Sister Rebecca?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, what I am telling you is that the Son of Man, whoever that may be, in your mind, whatever cloud in the sky that you see that you call the Son of Man, whoever that is in your mind, or whoever ultimately that truly is, the Son of Man don't need weapons. The Son of Man don't need a gun. The Son of Man don't need a knife. He can will it. He can simply desire that you die, and you're gone. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
How many times have a situation been solved when I got to the point that I'm going down there to physically deal with somebody myself? How many times did a situation get solved? I can't tell you how many times a situation got solved when I was fed up. Ain't that right, Rafiq?
Yes, sir.
I actually got mad at my ex-wife because she told those people at my children's school that their daddy is a lawyer. And when she told them that, they straightened up. But I'm like, Jonas, I didn't want them to straighten up. I wanted to go down there. I was mad she told them. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
That was the will of Allah. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
What? Read the 12th verse again, Rafi.
Kiss the Son, lest he be angry and you perish from the way, when his wrath is kindled but a little. Blessed are all they that put their trust in him. You get the Son of Man to the point he's angry with you. You in danger of hellfire, like that boy Gabriel. He finally got to the point. I couldn't rest. I wanted to go snap his neck with my bare hand. It got to that point. And Allah solved it. Do you understand? Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. He sure did.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you all something. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad said, the Son of Man must wait his time. I know I have power. I know I do. But you don't see me sending you text messages about earthquakes. This is not a game to me. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I want Allah to do his will. I'm not interested in doing my will. I'm interested in doing Allah's will. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I love Allah so much that even though he has given me power, I still want to do his will. not mine, but his. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
That's why they had to be careful of who the Son of Man is, of who you give that power to. You don't want to give that power to somebody that can't wait to use it. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Son of Man is not a tyrant. It's real easy to know who's allowed choice. He's an humble man. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And let me tell you something else that some people when they hear this is gonna find very hard to believe. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad had the same power and restrained himself. Do you understand?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
And I wish somebody come in here and say I'm lying about it. The messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, had the same power and restrained himself. And he actually told us that he got power with Allah to do these things. He got power of Allah to push you in hell. He almost left America, and his son Wallace stopped him. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Let me wake you up to something about that great man, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad had the power to bring the judgment. Because Allah told the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, he said, bring me the keys, Elijah, and come with me. You ain't got to put up with that. Just bring me the keys. Ain't that right, Sister Rebecca?
Yes, sir.
But the honorable Elijah Muhammad loved us so much, he didn't do it. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
What he said in 1970? What he said in 1972? He during theology of time. He says, "I need to teach on the mothership because it looks like they fixing to come to the earth." Is that right?
Yes, sir.
What else happened in 1972? The most honorable Elijah Muhammad said 2 of those angels came to his house in Chicago. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Right, sir.
Like them 2 angels that came to Lot in Sodom and Gomorrah. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
The only thing the most honorable Elijah Muhammad had to do was leave. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Well, how can you prove that, Son of Man? Very easy. How did Sodom and Gomorrah get destroyed? Lot simply left. He brought those keys back to Allah. Lot and his family left Sodom and Gomorrah, and the next day, the city was burnt down. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
What if the most honorable Elijah Muhammad had accepted that palace in Egypt and went to Africa with a few members of the Nation of Islam and went to Egypt? That would have been the end of this, according to what he said. That would have been the end of it. He had the power. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, it's 2019. I was never in the Nation of Islam in person with the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. How in the world do I know this and you've never been taught it? Answer me, Sister Rebecca. How in the world I know? I wasn't there. How do I know?
Well, I put it in you to know. That's where Muhammad put it in you to know. Mm-hmm. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad put it in you to know. He left the blueprint for you.
You ain't got nothing to fear. I don't care if I'm not there in Alphalucid. You ain't got nobody to be scared of. If you ever have a problem with anybody, you call on Master Farad Muhammad and see what happens. You understand me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And that don't mean you don't have to call me. I'll be like the Jackson 5. I'll be there. You got a God on your side. Do you understand me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
A God that's itching. A God that's waiting to pounce on your enemies. Like that poor brother that they killed in the car asleep. 6 white police officers killed that boy in his car asleep. Because what? They scared that he was going to shoot him, right? Is that right, Sister Rebecca?
That's right.
And they aggressed upon him. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Do you all want me to tell you what's really going on?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
You got 6 white police officers that, let's just look at the facts. Let's just follow pure logic. This is Rafiq kind of stuff here. Let's just follow logic here. You got 6 white armed police officers and a black man sleep in a car and he gets killed. And they say we're gonna use our mind of wisdom here, our enlightenment. They say that they was in fear of their lives. But that don't sound right, do it, Rafiq?
No, sir.
We're kinda in the dark about what really happened, aren't we?
Yes, sir.
Kinda don't feel right. Something about that just ain't right. Is that right, Rafiq?
Yes, sir.
Now we know what happened. You got 6 white devils armed with guns out hunting, seeking a nigga they gonna kill like they've been doing for the last 400 years. Like they forefathers did. We gonna hang us a nigga tonight. Ain't that right, Sister Rebecca?
That's right.
Them 6 white devils was on the hunt. They out hunting. They ain't got no Ku Klux Klan conehead uniforms on. They got badges. And they still out doing what they know good daddy's doing. Out hunting and killing niggas. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
That's what them devils are doing. They are hunting our people and killing them. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Do you know what kind of heart you have to kill something for fun? Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Let me help you. I took a golf ball and hit a duck, and I felt terrible, and the duck didn't even die. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Can you imagine getting a gun and shooting an animal and killing an animal for fun? Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
That's something like that's gotta be in your blood. You enjoy that. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Well, if you can kill an animal like a deer or a duck or any animal for fun, for the thrill and excitement of killing, how much more fun is it to kill a man? Is that right?
Yes, sir.
These white devils don't feel bad about killing black people or killing black children. They don't care. It's fun to them. They like hunting and killing. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
I can't hit a duck with a golf ball without feeling bad. And this devil go around shooting and killing everything. He loves killing. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Let me tell you something else that may not go down so easy. All these people that's getting killed, all these people that's countries that's getting invaded, all these people that's starving, all these women getting raped, all these babies getting aborted. Not one of these people are serving Master Farad Muhammad. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
None of these people you hear about accept the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
That same black man that got killed by those police officers and murdered in this car. Do you suppose if I would have invited him to come to this Sunday school and read Message of the Black Man with us, do you suppose, based on current conduct, do you suppose he'd have been here listening and worshiping Master Farad Muhammad with us?
Yes, sir.
Probably not. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Well, when we read the Quran, Allah said, the devil said, I'm gonna fill hell with them all. I'm gonna kill them. And what did God say? That's the right way with me. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
The devil told Allah in the Quran, Allah said, he said, I'm going to mislead all of them. And Allah said, I'm going to fill hell with all y'all. Sister Rebecca, what do we call the grave?
Mentally dead.
We call the grave hell.
Hell.
Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's right? Yeah,
Yes, sir.
Have y'all ever heard of the expression death and hell?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Huh? Well,
Yes, sir.
we know what death is, don't we?
Yes, sir.
Death and hell. They say when you die, you go to when you die, you go to hell, right?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Hell is the graveyard. Death and hell. Death in the graveyard. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So Allah told Satan in the Quran, I'm going to fill the graveyard with all of them. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
What you must understand is the devil knows he's going to the graveyard. He know he going there. He know he going to the graveyard. So what is he doing? He's trying to take as many black people to the graveyard with him as he can. That's why your brothers and sisters that's not serving Allah, the person Master Farad Muhammad, that's why they're getting killed. Because Satan know he on his way. So he's going to take as many people to the graveyard with him. He's going to take as many people to hell with him. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
This is the game. If I were you, since you are in this world, you're not in a Muslim society yet, but one is coming. While you are out there with your people, especially my own children in these public schools, I'm not telling you to stand on the street corner and tell these babies to come here, but if y'all can talk about video games, if you have a relationship with some of these children, like your so-called friends, I'm not talking about people you don't know. I mean people that you talk to every day. You kind of kick it with, play basketball with. Hey, you ought to check out this website, worldchrist.com. You ought to check this out. You can if you can say I'll meet you on PlayStation at 7 o'clock to play Call of Duty, I'm sure you can say maybe you ought to check this website out. I didn't tell you to preach, but you can surely invite them to visit the website. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
All those children in that school, they ain't serving at. They all on death's door. All of them. It's kind of hard to tell a girl that you love her and you know she going to hell, and you don't do nothing about it. Do you understand, Daeen?
Yes, sir.
All right, Rafiq.
Do we have any questions or comments before we close our Sunday school?
Yes, once again, this is a very good Sunday school. Everyone did well on their presentation, in their reading, and the Son of Man, you really puts it very plain as to the question, is there a coincidence? And I got it. I'd like to thank everyone for everything that was said and done.
Thank you too, Sister Rebecca. And I wanted to thank the Son of Man for speaking to us today and giving us even more wisdom on top of everything that he's already given us.
Yes, sir. I wanted to say that, Son of Man, that this Sunday school was very interesting, and I really enjoyed it. Amen.
I enjoyed the wise words that were given. Thank you.
I also wanted to thank the Son of Man for explaining what coincidences were about, because I was kind of confused about them from those on Sunday school about coincidences. So thank you.
So if there are no other questions or comments, we will close our Sunday school with the Muhammad children giving their Farad prayer, starting with Diane.
Surely I have turned myself, being upright to him who originated the heavens and the earth, and I am not of the polytheists. Surely my prayer, my sacrifice, my life, and my death are all for Allah, Lord of the worlds. No associate has he, and this am I commanded, and I am of those who submit. O Allah, thou art the King. There is no God but thee. Thou art my Lord, and I am thy servant. I have been unjust to myself, and I confess my faults. So grant me protection against all my faults, but none grants protection against faults but thee. And guide me to the best of morals, but none guides to the best of them but thee. And turns away from me the evil morals but thee. Amen.
Surely I have turned myself, being upright to him who originated the heavens and the earth, and I am not the polytheist. Surely my prayers, my sacrifices, my life, and my death are for Allah, the Lord of the worlds. No associate has he, and this is my commanded, and I am of those who submit. O Allah, thou art the King, there is no God but thee. Thou art my Lord, and I am thy servant. I have been unjust to myself, and I confess my faults. So grant me protection against all my faults, for none grants protection against faults with thee, and guides me to the best of morals, for none guides to the best of them but thee, and turns away from me the evil morals but thee. Amen.
Surely I have turned myself, being upright to him who originated the heavens and the earth, and I am not a polytheist. Surely my prayers, my sacrifices, my life, and my death are all for Allah, the Lord of the world. No associate has he, and this am I commanded, and I am of those who submit. O Allah, thou art the King, there is no God but thee. Thou art my Lord, and I am thy servant. I have been unjust myself, and I confess my faults. So grant me protection against all my faults. For none grants protection against faults with thee, rising to the best of morals. For none guides to the best of thee. For none guides to the best of them but thee, or turns me away from the evil morals but thee. Amen.
In the name of Allah, who appeared and is in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Wa alaikum salam.